O.J. Simpson, the former NFL star who was found not guilty of the double murder of his ex-wife and her friend in 1995 in one of the most notorious trials in modern history, has died at age 70.
O.J. Simpson. There has been no formal police action, but the coroner's report is in. Nicole Simpson and the man found with her had multiple wounds.
What was your life like?
When news of O.J. Simpson's passing broke on Thursday morning, social media became a platform for people to share their thoughts on the former football star and prominent figure who had been accused of the murders of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald L. Goldman, back in 1994.
Can I just ask what it was like for you? I mean, you've seen a lot of things in Los Angeles. This really did.
Simpsons, right? I mean, there's the football icon, and there's also the one that was charged in 2 criminal cases, convicted in one, acquitted in another. But I think because...
Despite being acquitted of the charges during his murder trial in 1995, many still harbored doubts about his innocence. In a civil suit brought by the Brown and Goldman families in 1997, Simpson was found liable for the deaths.
The great football legend was charged with murdering his former wife and a friend.
The charges carry with them allegations of special circumstances, meaning that Simpson could face the death penalty if convicted.
Serving time from 2008 to 2017 on charges of armed robbery, kidnapping, conspiracy, and more, some saw his imprisonment as a belated form of justice.
But the mystery remained, because the mystery of what happened to O.J., to the victims in this case, to Nicole Brown Simpson, to Ron Goldman. I just got off the phone with David Cook. David Cook has been the attorney for the Goldmans for years. And
following his death, a range of reactions flooded social media. From athletes and sports fans expressing anger and bitterness toward what they perceived as an unpunished crime, to others offering condolences and acknowledging Simpson's athletic achievements, opinions were diverse. For instance, Caitlyn Jenner tweeted "Good riddance #O.J. Simpson," while Jose Canseco stated, "O.J. Simpson was a murderer. His death should not be glorified." However, amidst the divisive comments, there were also those who offered their condolences and reflected on Simpson's family. Magic Johnson, for example, tweeted his prayers for Simpson's children and grandchildren during this difficult time. Even the Heisman Trophy Trust issued a brief statement, expressing condolences on the passing of O.J. Simpson, the 1968 Heisman Trophy winner, and extending sympathy to his family. Former NFL player Torrey Smith expressed his disapproval of the media's use of O.J. Simpson's court photos to announce his passing, despite admitting he's not a big O.J. guy. Smith emphasized the importance of respecting Simpson's innocence in the eyes of the law and the fact that he leaves behind children. Todd Gurley, a former Rams running back, affectionately referred to Simpson as Uncle O and highlighted his achievements as a running back, acknowledging him as a legend in the sport. Joe DeLamielleure, a Hall of Fame offensive lineman who played with Simpson, reflected on Simpson's impact on the black community and the sports world, crediting him as a groundbreaker. The Pro Football Hall of Fame issued a statement primarily focusing on Simpson's football career milestones, with a brief mention of his passing. Notably, some entities chose to remain silent on the matter, including Simpson's former teams and the NFL, which is certainly a little damning. When USC coach Lincoln Riley was asked about Simpson, he acknowledged his history and legacy while offering condolences to his family. O.J. Simpson, the iconic football player whose life was marked by both athletic glory and controversy, passed away on April 10th at the age of 76. His family announced on social media platform X that he succumbed to cancer, though further details were not immediately provided. Simpson's life took a dramatic turn when he was acquitted of the highly publicized murders of his ex-wife and her friend in a trial that captivated the nation, sparking debates on domestic violence and racial tensions. Despite his acquittal, Simpson served 9 years of a 33-year sentence for unrelated charges of kidnapping and armed robbery before being released from the Lovelock Correctional Center in 2017. From his humble beginnings in a San Francisco neighborhood, Simpson rose to become one of football's greatest running backs, starring in over 20 Hollywood films and becoming a familiar face on television screens as a corporate spokesman and sports commentator. His charming demeanor and winning smile endeared him to fans even beyond his playing days. However, Simpson's legacy was forever marred by the allegations of murder, which shattered his image as a beloved sports hero. The brutal killings of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman in 1994, set against the backdrop of race, fame, and scandal, catapulted the case into what Time magazine dubbed the Godzilla of tabloid stories. In 1995, O.J. Simpson's highly publicized trial gripped the nation. Despite bloodstains and physical evidence linking him to the crime, a predominantly black jury accepted the defense's argument that Simpson had been framed by racist Los Angeles police. The trial, spanning 8 months and televised nationally, concluded with Simpson's acquittal in less than 3 hours. The verdict highlighted the stark divide in perceptions of racism and law enforcement between black and white communities, a division still evident in later protests and the emergence of the Black Lives Matter movement. Author and legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin reflected on the trial's significance, noting how it underscored the disparities in trust toward law enforcement and the justice system among different racial groups. The trial also catapulted several figures into the public eye, including legal analysts Harvey Levin and Greta Van Susteren, who later became prominent media personalities. Even Hollywood got involved, with Brian Cato Kalin, a resident of Simpson's property, gaining temporary fame for his colorful testimony during the trial. Simpson's defense team, led by the charismatic Johnny L. Cochran Jr. and including Robert Kardashian, captured the attention of the nation. Although Simpson was acquitted in the criminal trial, the families of the victims, Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, won a substantial civil judgment against him in 1997. This civil trial, decided by a predominantly white jury, did not require a unanimous vote to find Simpson liable for the murders. O.J. Simpson's life took a tumultuous turn as he faced financial woes and legal troubles. Desperate to maintain his lavish lifestyle, he engaged in a risky scheme in 2007, leading an armed raid to retrieve what he claimed were stolen personal items from memorabilia dealers in a Las Vegas hotel room. This incident resulted in his arrest, trial, and eventual conviction, earning him a hefty sentence of 33 years for kidnapping and armed robbery. Born in San Francisco in 1947 and raised in a tough neighborhood, Simpson overcame early health challenges to become a formidable athlete. Despite his rough upbringing, his mother's dedication and his own determination propelled him to graduate from high school in 1965. Although he struggled academically, his athletic prowess shone through, earning him a spot at the City College of San Francisco and later the University of Southern California, USC. At USC, Simpson's talent on the football field was undeniable. He became known as one of the nation's finest running backs, capturing attention with his remarkable speed and power. His crowning achievements came in 1968 when he clinched both the Maxwell Award and the Heisman Trophy, solidifying his status as the best college player in the country. With impressive stats and memorable plays, Simpson left an incredible mark on college football history, earning accolades as one of the greatest running backs of all time. Throughout his journey, O.J. Simpson, affectionately known as the Juice, built a life filled with both triumphs and challenges. He tied the knot with his high school sweetheart, Marguerite Whitley, and together they welcomed 3 children into the world. Notably, Simpson's early success allowed him to fulfill a heartfelt gesture, purchasing his mother her very first home when he was just in his early 20s. Simpson's football career began with the Buffalo Bills in 1969, where he quickly earned a reputation as a dynamic force on the field. Despite the team's struggles in his initial seasons, the arrival of coach Lou Saban marked a turning point. Saban recognized Simpson's exceptional talents and crafted the team's offense around the speedy running back. This strategic move proved fruitful as Simpson consistently surpassed the 1,000-yard rushing mark for 5 consecutive seasons, clinching 4 NFL rushing titles along the way. Simpson's prowess reached its peak in 1973 when he etched his name into NFL history books. In a remarkable display of skill and athleticism, he set a single-game record by rushing for an astonishing 250 yards against the New England Patriots. His remarkable season culminated in breaking Jim Brown's long-standing rushing record, becoming the first player in professional football history to surpass the 2,000-yard mark in a single season. Despite retiring from the NFL in 1979 after a brief stint with the San Francisco 49 ERs, Simpson left an indelible mark on the sport. His remarkable career, highlighted by 11,236 rushing yards and multiple accolades, earned him a well-deserved spot in the Pro Football Hall of Fame 6 years later. O.J. wasn't just a remarkable football player, his friendly demeanor made him a beloved figure in the media spotlight. From his iconic roles in the Naked Gun series to memorable appearances in films like The Towering Inferno and Capricorn 1, he left an indelible mark on the entertainment industry. He even made a cameo in the acclaimed TV miniseries Roots back in 1977. In 1983, he joined the Monday Night Football crew on ABC, rubbing shoulders with broadcasting legends like Howard Cosell, Frank Gifford, and Don Meredith. Behind the charm lay a stormy personal life. His relationship with Nicole Brown, whom he met in 1977, was anything but smooth sailing. Despite marrying her in 1985, reports surfaced of his infidelity and volatile behavior. Nicole made desperate calls to 911 for protection on multiple occasions, including one in 1985 when she reported him smashing her car windshield with a baseball bat. The situation escalated on New Year's Day 1989 when Nicole, in distress, called 911 in the early hours. When police arrived, she emerged from the bushes with visible injuries, crying out that he was going to kill her. O.J., appearing enraged, was eventually arrested, but not charged with resisting arrest, leaving a cloud of controversy in his wake. O.J. faced consequences for pleading guilty to spousal battery, landing fines, and probation. Surprisingly, just 3 months later, NBC Sports handed him a new broadcast contract. The tumultuous relationship between O.J. and Nicole took another turn when she left him in January 1992, leading to a finalized divorce in October. But love's twisty road brought them back together within months. Things took a dark turn when, in October 1993, Nicole urgently called 911, alleging O.J. had forcibly entered her home. Nicole made a firm decision to leave O.J. for good in early 1994. The tension reached a peak on June 12th when O.J. attended a school event but opted not to engage with Nicole or her family afterward. Tragically, Nicole's evening ended in horror. Her mother left her glasses behind at a local joint, and when waiter Ronald Goldman offered to return them, he unknowingly walked into a nightmare. Their bodies, slashed and bloodied, were discovered 3 hours later. Nicole's injuries were devastating, with deep wounds to her head and neck. Goldman, tragically, had suffered 22 stab wounds. Investigators pointed to Nicole being the primary target, with Goldman facing a fatal confrontation as he intervened. Suspicion immediately fell on O.J. despite his vehement claims of innocence. His lawyers arranged for his surrender on June 17th, but the world watched in shock as he fled in a white Ford Bronco, his friend Al Cowlings at the wheel. A surreal scene unfolded as police pursued the vehicle. O.J. clutching a gun and photos of his children, tears streaming down his face. The chaotic spectacle concluded at O.J.'s Brentwood home, where he surrendered amidst a media frenzy. And so began one of the most infamous trials in American history. Investigators uncovered a trove of damning evidence linking O.J. to the crime scene. Blood samples from the victims were discovered in his home and car, while his own blood was found at the murder site. There were even hair strands and a cap found at the scene that matched O.J.'s clothing. And let's not forget those infamous bloody gloves, one at the crime scene and the other chillingly tucked away behind O.J.'s guest house. Now, despite the mountain of evidence, O.J. didn't have a solid alibi for the time of the murders. But the prosecution faced its own challenges. They lacked eyewitnesses, a murder weapon, and had to navigate the murky waters of a police force tainted by allegations of racism. Enter O.J.'s legal dream team, led by the charismatic Johnny Cochran. With his flair for the dramatic, Cochran aimed to flip the script, turning the trial into a damning indictment of the Los Angeles police. The defense lobbed accusations at 2 white detectives, alleging evidence tampering and incompetence among crime lab technicians. One of the most memorable moments of the trial came when prosecutor Christopher Darden asked O.J. to try on the infamous bloody gloves in front of the jury. The gloves famously didn't fit, and Cochran drove the point home in his closing arguments. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. While the courtroom drama played out, the media circus outside was in full swing. Tabloids like Star and TV shows like Hard Copy dissected every detail of the case, from O.J.'s police statement to past incidents of domestic violence involving Nicole. The sensationalism reached new heights when Nicole's father sold her diary to the National Enquirer and her sister sold topless photos of her. And thanks to a ruling by Judge Lance Ito, every twist and turn of the trial was broadcast live, turning Ito and the entire legal cast into household names. Critics lambasted Ito for not reining in the theatrics of Cochran and his fellow defense attorneys, including legal heavyweights like Robert Shapiro, Alan Dershowitz, and F. Lee Bailey, as well as the now famous Kardashian. Throughout the trial, the defense consistently outmaneuvered prosecutors Clark and Darden, catching them off guard with their aggressive tactics. Their strategies, while sometimes wild, effectively tore down the credibility of the prosecution's witnesses. O.J.'s legal team didn't hold back. They went after the police's handling of DNA evidence, sparking significant changes in law enforcement practices. Their critique wasn't about the reliability of DNA testing itself, but rather how evidence was gathered and processed. As Attorney Scheck put it, they were dealing with 21st century technology, but using outdated 19th century methods. One of the trial's pivotal moments came when the defense dismantled the testimony of Detective Mark Fuhrman, who claimed to have found the bloody gloves. Under intense questioning, Fuhrman denied using racial slurs, but the defense produced damning evidence, a tape recording of him using such language. In his closing argument, Cochran didn't hold back, comparing Fuhrman to Adolf Hitler and accusing him of framing O.J. After the trial, Fuhrman resigned from the police force and faced perjury charges. The media frenzy surrounding the case meant the jury was sequestered for a staggering 266 days. 8 jurors were eventually dismissed due to misconduct, leaving a final panel of 9 black jurors, 2 white and 1 Hispanic. When the verdict came on October 3, 1995, acquitting O.J., it was met with disbelief by some and jubilation by others. Several jurors later revealed they never bought into the prosecution's case. The decision brought cheers from segments of the black community. In their quest for justice, Goldman's family and the Browns pursued a wrongful death civil suit. The trial kicked off in 1997, and unlike the previous one, it operated with fewer restrictions on evidence. However, O.J.'s new attorney lacked the finesse of Cochran and his team, creating a different dynamic in the courtroom. O.J.'s defense team took a contentious approach, painting Nicole Simpson in a negative light. They depicted her as a heavy drinker who had undergone an abortion and associated with unsavory characters. While the strategy aimed to cast doubt on potential suspects, it was widely criticized as desperate and demeaning by legal experts and trial observers. Unlike the murder trial where O.J. didn't testify, this time he took the stand. Facing a larger-than-life photo of Nicole's battered face from the 1989 incident, O.J. initially denied any physical violence, but later admitted to trying to exert control over her, acknowledging his wrongdoing. In a stunning verdict in February 1997, the jury awarded $12.5 million to each victim's heirs and an additional $8.5 million to Goldman's parents. One juror summed up their decision, stating they believed O.J. shouldn't profit from the tragic deaths. After O.J.'s legal battles, authorities seized his Brentwood mansion and many belongings, including his prized Heisman Trophy. However, only a fraction of the owed judgment was paid. He relied on a reported $25,000 monthly NFL pension and eventually relocated with his younger children to Pinecrest, Florida, amid accusations of hiding assets. Attempting to reclaim financial stability, O.J. dabbled in various failed money-making ventures. One notorious example was a book titled If I Did It, shelved after public outrage. The Goldmans later gained rights to the book to recoup part of their settlement. In a dramatic turn, O.J. found himself back in the spotlight in September 2007 when he was arrested for leading a group in a hotel room robbery in Las Vegas, claiming the memorabilia belonged to him. On October 3, 2008, exactly 13 years after his murder trial acquittal, a jury convicted him on multiple charges, including armed robbery and kidnapping, landing him a hefty 33-year prison sentence. Despite appeals, the verdict stood. Before his incarceration, O.J. shared custody of his children with Nicole's family. Sydney and Justin, the children from his marriage to Nicole, remained out of the public eye during his legal woes, focusing on their education. O.J.'s family includes 2 children from his first marriage, Arnell and Jason, and the 2 children from his second marriage. Tragically, Erin, his daughter from his first marriage, died tragically in a pool accident in 1979. Even years later, O.J.'s trial and the sensational events surrounding it continued to captivate the public's imagination. In 2016, 2 television series reignited discussions about O.J., captivating a new generation who hadn't witnessed his football stardom or the infamous 1995 trial. In 2017, ESPN's gripping series O.J. Made in America snagged the Academy Award for Best Documentary, while FX's riveting dramatization of the trial, The People v. O.J. Simpson, racked up multiple Emmy Awards. Following his acquittal, O.J., once the titan of football and fame, found himself adrift in a changed world. In 2001, he faced assault charges stemming from a road rage incident, ultimately walking away acquitted. However, more violent incidents followed until his eventual imprisonment in 2008. Turning a corner in 2017, just days after celebrating his 70th birthday, O.J. found himself granted parole in his first year of eligibility. Addressing the Nevada Parole Board, he asserted, "I basically have spent a conflict-free life." Settling into Las Vegas, O.J. embraced a quieter existence. In a 2019 interview with the Associated Press, he revealed a routine of daily golf outings and friendly interactions with those who recognized him around town. When asked about the past, he emphasized a focus on positivity, stating, "We don't need to go back and relive the worst day of our lives. My family and I have moved on to what we call the no-negative zone." We focus on the positives. The 1995 trial of O.J. Simpson for the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman wasn't just a legal spectacle. It was a cultural phenomenon. If the shocking news of Nicole's murder didn't grab everyone's attention, O.J.'s surreal Bronco chase on the day of his arrest certainly did. 95 million viewers were glued to their screens as the drama unfolded live. The 133 days of courtroom drama turned countless viewers into Simpson trial aficionados, even sparking interest from foreign leaders like Margaret Thatcher and Boris Yeltsin, who couldn't resist discussing the trial. Yeltsin famously quizzed President Clinton about O.J. upon landing in the U.S., setting the stage for one of the most watched events in American legal history. The night of June 12, 1994, remains shrouded in mystery, with conflicting accounts of what exactly transpired. What's clear is that a brutal attack occurred at Nicole Brown Simpson's condo in Brentwood. Nicole and Ronald Goldman were viciously assaulted, triggering a tragic investigation that would captivate the nation. Meanwhile, O.J. was on a flight to Chicago when news of Nicole's murder reached him. His reaction, or lack thereof, raised eyebrows. Upon his return to Los Angeles, he was met with a full-scale police investigation, bloodstains marking his driveway and questions about a deep cut on his hand. Despite his explanations, suspicion lingered, leading to a dramatic disappearance and the infamous Bronco chase that would end in his arrest. Filing the case downtown was just the start of a series of decisions that may have influenced the trial's outcome. By opting not to pursue the death penalty, prosecutors missed out on having a death-qualified jury, which studies suggest might have been more likely to convict. This type of jury excludes members who oppose capital punishment, often skewing towards a demographic that's less inclined to sympathize with the defendant. Additionally, prosecutors faced criticism for disregarding advice from their own jury consultants, who recommended using peremptory challenges to exclude certain potential jurors. As the trial progressed, a string of missteps emerged, including the infamous glove demonstration, the decision to call Mark Fuhrman to the stand, and the overwhelming volume of evidence presented over weeks, diluting its impact. On July 22, 1994, at his arraignment, Simpson emphatically declared his innocence, kicking off months of legal proceedings, jury selection, and hearings on various procedural matters. Finally, on January 24, 1995, the trial began under gloomy skies, drawing comparisons to a Super Bowl of murder trials. Judge Lance Ito set the stage, anticipating some fabulous lawyering skills. Christopher Darden led the prosecution's opening statement, painting Simpson as a possessive and violent figure. Marcia Clark followed, laying out the case against Simpson with conviction. The defense, led by Johnny Cochran, countered with a portrayal of Simpson as physically incapable of the crimes due to arthritis and cast doubt on the integrity of the evidence. Over the next 99 days, the prosecution presented 72 witnesses to bolster their case. The first group aimed to establish Simpson's motive and history of domestic violence through testimony from Nicole's relatives, friends, and a 911 dispatcher who recounted a harrowing call from Nicole during an assault. The subsequent witnesses, including limo driver Alan Park and Cato Kalin, attempted to establish a timeline that would incriminate Simpson, detailing his movements on the night of the murders. Alan Park's testimony in particular painted a vivid picture of Simpson's actions that fateful night, highlighting suspicious behavior and unexplained actions. Cato Kalin, a colorful character in the trial saga, shared his account during the proceedings. He testified that he and Simpson returned from a late-night fast food run just before 9:40. However, Kalin couldn't track Simpson's movements afterward. He mentioned hearing strange noises around 11 o'clock, coinciding with a shadowy figure entering Simpson's home as witnessed by Alan Park. The prosecution also highlighted phone records indicating Simpson called his girlfriend around 10 o'clock using his car phone, a detail that seemed out of place with his claimed whereabouts in the backyard practicing golf swings. The trial took a technical turn as the prosecution delved into forensic evidence linking Simpson to the crime scenes. They presented results from blood, hair, fiber, and footprint analyses, painting a picture of incriminating connections between the Bundy crime scene and Simpson's residence. Particularly striking were the DNA tests, suggesting that the blood found at the scene and on Simpson's socks was exceptionally rare, matching Simpson's profile. However, the defense began to sow seeds of doubt, suggesting either contamination or evidence tampering by corrupt officers. Mark Fuhrman, the LAPD officer who discovered the infamous bloody glove, inadvertently became pivotal for the defense's narrative. His testimony, marked by a shocking revelation of his use of racial slurs, shifted perceptions in the courtroom. A subsequent courtroom demonstration involving the glove further eroded confidence in the prosecution's case when Simpson struggled to put them on. Despite later explanations for the ill fit, the damage was done, echoing Cochran's famous line, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." A pivotal moment occurred during a field trip to key locations in the case, where Simpson's defense strategically crafted a narrative, leveraging race dynamics in their favor. Transforming Simpson's home to reflect a different image, the defense sought to shape perceptions of the jury. However, strategic optics were not the only factor that influenced the trial's conclusion. Expert testimony from experts such as forensic expert Henry Lee presented persuasive arguments against the prosecution's evidence, providing the jury a reason to acquit Simpson. Simpson's acquittal resulted from a combination of courtroom drama, racial relations, and expert testimony. As closing arguments began in the Simpson case, the trial had already broken records, lasting longer than the notorious Charles Manson trial in California history. The sequestered jury, worn out after nearly a year, displayed signs of exhaustion, and Judge Ito was chastised for allowing the trial to continue on indefinitely. Marcia Clark led the prosecution's summation, aiming to address the Fuhrman scandal. She denounced Fuhrman as a racist cop, but said there was no frame-up. She methodically presented the prosecution's evidence on a television screen, using jigsaw pieces to try to piece together O.J. Simpson's guilt. Christopher Darden followed, comparing Simpson's football hero image with the potential that he was a killer. Johnny Cochran's defense summary sparked controversy by comparing the prosecution's case to Hitler's persecution of Jews. His parallel drew criticism, with some accusing Trump of utilizing the racial card inappropriately. Despite the legal fireworks, the jury deliberated for about 3 hours before returning the judgment of not guilty. Simpson sighed a sigh of relief, while Cochran celebrated with a fist pump, marking the defense's victory. However, the courtroom was filled with shouts of sorrow from the victims' families. Simpson pledged to find the real killers, but soon became engaged in a civil trial. This time, the results were dramatically different. Simpson was judged accountable for the deaths of Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson after giving an embarrassing testimony in front of devastating evidence. Despite the $33.5 million verdict, Simpson's assets remained untouchable under California law. However, Simpson's legal troubles did not end there. In 2007, he organized a bungled robbery in Las Vegas, earning him a hefty prison term. Simpson was released on parole in 2017 and encountered threats and obstacles behind jail, including fights with other convicts. The trial's impact went beyond the legal community, shedding light on racial tensions in law enforcement and raising awareness about domestic violence issues. Furthermore, it sparked a reconsideration of courtroom procedures, such as the use of cameras and the staging of high-profile trials. Outro. Ultimately, the Simpson trial left a lasting imprint on American society, revealing deep-seated divisions and prompting reflection on issues of justice, race, and media coverage that still resonate today.